Oftentimes people live their lives every day and they get in routines and they start accepting bad behavior, depressed feelings, things aren't going the way they're supposed to go by the rules, or just inappropriate treatment. They just get used to the regular conditioning of bad treatment, and they start accepting it. And they become conditioned and content that this is just the way life is, or I'll never be promoted, or I'll never get that type of loan, or I'll never be allowed to be in that type of club, or I'll never get an opportunity like they got. They stop believing that success is impossible, and the mindset is the first stage and step to winning. So we want to tell the people who find themselves in routines that aren't positive, or find themselves in jobs or circumstances that aren't really engaging, that you can change your dynamic, but it starts with changing your mindset.
Welcome to the Mindset Game podcast. I'm Vered Kogan, and I'm so excited for you to meet Andre Norman. Andre is a globally renowned transformational speaker, strategist, and consultant, revolutionizing correctional systems worldwide. With an unwavering commitment to resilience and innovation, he inspires individuals and organizations to embrace challenges, tap into their limitless potential, and achieve extraordinary success. With a fellowship at Harvard University and collaborations with prestigious institutions, Andre brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to his engagements. Through his dynamic presentations, practical strategies, and personal journey, from a 105-year prison sentence to becoming a Harvard Fellow, he empowers audiences to overcome obstacles, navigate change, and unlock their true potential. Andre's profound impact, global reach, and unwavering dedication make him a trusted partner for personal and professional transformation. And on a personal note, Andre and I met through the Genius Network, which is an amazing group that's led by Joe Polish. And Andre, you've been quite an inspiration to me. And with a heart full of gratitude, I welcome you to this podcast conversation, and just really excited to have people hear your story, hear your journey, and I'm sure just like me, be like amazed and inspired. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And again, we just want to spread the word that people are here for people, regardless any other circumstances. We want to see everybody win. Winners find ways, as Joe Polish would say.
Yeah.
And we want to help your listeners find a way to win.
Awesome. So tell us more about that. Like, find a way to win. When somebody is in a really tough situation, clearly you've been in a tough situation, and we'll hear the story soon. Like, what do you mean by winning?
Oftentimes people live their lives every day and they get in routines and they start accepting bad behavior, depressed feelings, things aren't going the way they're supposed to go by the rules, or just inappropriate treatment. They just get used to the regular conditioning of bad treatment, and they start accepting it, and they become conditioned and content that this is just the way life is, or I'll never be promoted, or I'll never get that type of loan, or I'll never be allowed to be in that type of club, or I'll never get an opportunity like they got. They stop believing that success is impossible, and the mindset is the first stage and step to winning. So we want to tell the people who find themselves in routines that aren't positive, or find themselves in jobs or circumstances that aren't really engaging, that you can change your dynamic, but it starts with changing your mindset.
Hooray for that. I agree 100%. And there are many ways for them to be able to do that. And one of those ways is to hear stories of other people who have overcome challenges and embraced that type of mindset, a more empowered mindset. So would you be willing to share with us, for those people that don't yet know you, a little bit about your history and your journey?
Well, my journey started in Boston, Massachusetts back a long time ago. My mom married a high school sweetheart. She had 2 kids. Her husband goes to prison for robbing banks. She meets my dad, a local hustler. She has 4 more kids, 6 kids, mom, dad. Life is great, except for my dad had a habit of beating my mom. So we went through the domestic violence scenarios for years. And then I got old enough to go to school. I started going to school, first grade. It was great, all these kids to play with. But I went to school during the busing crisis, where going to school as a Black kid in Boston wasn't really looked upon as good. So my bus would go through a white neighborhood and they would throw rocks at us and call us names. And I didn't understand why. It just was. And one day the rock stopped. One day the beating stopped. And the kids were gone from the corner with rocks, and my dad was gone from the house. It was just single mom, 6 kids. And nobody really explained to me the whole concept of busing. Nobody ever sat me down and explained to me why my dad left. So I just internalized stuff and started seeing it from my perspective. And my thing was, if my mom can be hit, anybody can. If kids can throw rocks at me, I better learn to protect myself because nobody came to help me. And if my dad can quit on us, I can quit on anything too. And that's the framework as a 7-year-old I took into the world. That was the lens for everything that I saw, everything that was ran through that. And when I got to the 3rd grade, they found out I couldn't read or write. So they put me in a thing called a dummy class. And it was just a room full of kids like me, couldn't read and write for whatever the reason. And we sat there and we played all day. And luckily, a teacher pulled me out of the dummy class. She said, "You're not a dummy. You just learn differently." And when I see people now struggling, I tell them, you're not unhelpable. You just need a different type of help. And sometimes the messenger that you're going to isn't the messenger that you should be. And it's just getting the right message from the right person. And the lady taught me how to read and write. I was like, phenomenal. Now I just went on from there. And as I got older, I realized that I was poor. I didn't have guidance. You hear about the school to prison pipeline, the bus. Well, I was on that bus. I went from 3rd grade, bad math, bad English, bad science. And it's what the stats say. If you can't do math, English, and science in 3rd grade, you're going to jail. And at 18, I ended up in prison. When I got to prison, it wasn't just a place you put criminals. It was a place where all my friends from the dummy class, all my friends from the principal's office, all my friends who stole cookies from the corner store, all my friends who skipped school, all my friends from juvenile probation, all my friends who quit band, quit football, quit baseball. It was a building full of people who quit on life for one reason or another. It was just a reunion of all of us. It was like white, black, Spanish from all over the state, people who had the same stories. And we were just thrown in together. Now I'm traumatized from watching my mother go through busing, poverty, shoplifting. Everybody has their story, but you have 1,000 men who are traumatized living in a building, triggering each other all day. So what you say triggers me, and what I say trigger you, and what the God says triggers him. So it's just like a spark every 30 seconds because you have people walking around with trauma, not excusing behavior, not justifying crimes. We're talking about the human part. We went to court. I did my crimes. I was rightfully convicted and I was sent to prison. I get that. But now let's talk about the human being of Andre. Am I getting better? No. Am I being rehabilitated? No. Am I in a pro-social environment? No. So what am I doing? Every single day, I'm getting worse. I'm getting more violent. I'm getting more dark. And that was the life for 6 years. And at the end of that 6 years, I woke up one day and I realized something. That this isn't working, that my big dreams of being a big gangster in prison just didn't make sense to anybody but me. And the day I woke up in solitary confinement, it didn't make sense to me either. I spent 2.5 years sitting in a cell by myself, 24 hours a day in solitary. And that's when I came to realize that this isn't what I wanted for my life. So my first thought, and so many of your listeners, I need y'all to pay attention to this part. My first thought is I don't want to do this anymore. And my second thought is, well, what do I want to do? I said, I want to be free. It makes sense, right? I'm in prison. I want to be free. I don't want to be in prison anymore. But then the most important thing, I did the critical part of doing the research and the analysis. I looked around at all the different groups, white, black, Spanish, church guys, Muslim guys who worked in the kitchen, guys worked the yard. Everybody went home and everybody came back. All the people got free, never stayed free. They call it recidivism in society. We call it Johnny came back. So I'm like, nobody's saying free. So guess what I didn't want? I didn't want to be free because it didn't work for anybody. So I switched free for successful because in my mind, successful people don't come here. And that one change made all the difference. Had I just said, oh, I want to be free and went for freedom. You know what freedom is? The parking lot. When you finally walk out the front door and you hit the parking lot, you've achieved your goal. So for all the listeners, when you set a goal, if your goal is simply, I want to be free, is that enough? Is the goal you're setting enough? It's a positive step. It's a great momentum boost, but is it enough? Freedom wasn't a big enough goal. And it's not a big enough goal for anybody coming home from prison because it's not enough. Because once you hit the parking lot, 10 seconds out of prison, you've achieved your goal.
Mm.
Then you say, now what? Then you resort back to where you've been. Well, I just want to be away from him. I just want this. I just want, and then you get it and you say, now what? I don't know. Then you go back to what you used to do before. So when I came home, my goal wasn't freedom, it was success. And my goal was to go to Harvard University and become successful. And I worked every single day from 1991 until 2006, 2016, until I made it to Harvard. And I was given my fellowship. Along the way, I've become an international speaker. Along the way, I'm working at London Business School. Along the way, I'm working at the UN and Congress. Along the way, I'm working at the White House. But never did I give up on my initial goal and dream was to make it to Harvard. Because success wasn't the White House. Success wasn't the UN. Success wasn't London Business School. Success wasn't traveling the world. I define success as attaining entry to Harvard. And when I got there, then I said, now what? Because you don't ever want to get rid of your engine just because you'll get some small wins along the way, but you always have to get the win before you move on to the next one.
That's an amazing story, an amazing experience. I'm curious, what was it when you were in that solitary confinement and you said, I don't want this? I imagine a lot of people were thinking and feeling that, right? Like, what is it that got you to actually imagine a different possibility and take action to get out of prison and to be successful?
Every person who's struggling, whether they're in prison or not, addiction or not, depression or not, bad relationships or jobs or not, at some point they will say to themselves, I had enough of this. This is my rock bottom. They, regardless of circumstance you're in, you will hit what you say is your rock bottom. And then you'll say, I'm going to do all these things. But the problem is you don't have anybody who's speaking kindness in you or supporting to you or mentoring you or being there for you to walk you through. So you're just trying to do it on willpower. And as Ben Hardy says, willpower doesn't work. And if it's just willpower, you might make it 5 days, 10 days, 20 days, but the whole crowd of the world is going the opposite direction. You don't have the wherewithal or the support to get through the madness. And at some point, it pushes you back into the pile. When I turned my life around, I made that decision. I took on some mentors, and those mentors were there for me when it was time to make hard decisions, and when it was time not to give up. And that's the differential, is having people in your corner who can speak into your life, not just agree with you, but tell you no. Not just tell you, hey, I'm glad you made it this far, but tell you how much further you've yet to go and keep you on task and keep you focused. And I don't want anybody to think, oh, I can willpower my way through it for a month or two, maybe. It took me 8 years to get out of prison. It wasn't an 8-day thing. So I needed real mentors who really understood it was in for the long haul.
So you asked for help. You got the courage to ask for that help and you received the help, meaning, like, I imagine you took their guidance and you acted on it and you adapted your behavior. Along the way, there must have been some shift in your thinking about yourself and what you believed about yourself. So tell us about that. Like, what was it that kind of turned things around for you from a psychological perspective around what's possible for you?
When I first came to prison, I had a goal. That was to be the number one guy in the prison system. That was a goal. But there was a guy in that seat named Dominic Williams, who was a great friend of mine and a mentor. And I'm trying to catch Dominic. And that was my goal. And when I got close enough to see that I didn't really want it, I'm like, this isn't you don't know what you're asking for until you get it sometimes. Hmm. You take your kids out shopping. Mommy, I want to eat that. Mommy, and you buy it for them. They're like, I don't like it. You just spent $30 on this thing. Well, why did you ask for it? Because it looked good. It looked appealing. So many times the things we aspire to look appealing and look good until you actually get it. When I got close to getting it, I realized it wasn't what it was. And it didn't look the same as it did on the shelf. It looked way better on the shelf than it did on my plate. So I switched my goals. You have to reassess sometimes. And it was time for me to reassess and actually ask myself, is this what I want? And like I wake up today, I'm 57, and I'm so brutally honest. I say I have roughly 30 years left to live. What am I going to do with my day-to-day experience over the next 30 years? I didn't have that attitude before. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be here. I'm 22, I'm 25, I'm 28. I'm not concerned with time or energy or space, or it was just I woke up and it was technically all about me. So when I count my days, I'm like, how am I spending? Is this a good use of my day? Because I don't get this day back. Am I helping somebody? Am I furthering an agenda? Am I just spinning my wheels? Am I creating good impact in the world? And I don't see myself as being negative or Debbie Downer because I'm thinking about dying. I'm like, no, we're all going sometime. And I want to be cognizant of how I exercise my energy now. And I have a mentor and a great friend named Les Brown. He says, do not take any of your gifts to the graveyard because they serve no purpose.
So, first of all, I want to just pause and congratulate you for the courage, for the effort, the consistent effort to do better, be better, think better, give more from your heart. That is quite an inspiration. And I know you personally, and I can say it's the real deal, right? What we're seeing here is the real deal. It's who you really are. And I think that this is also a message for people listening about their choices and the impact that they can have on other people. Sometimes being that mentor, being that light for somebody else really doesn't require all that much. It might just be a sincere acknowledgement, a message of hope or care or something like that. And sometimes it can be a lot more. So what do you want to tell people around that, like that are, kind of considering how can I find more meaning in my own life?
Finding more meaning in your own life is first you have to go look at your life. You can't just say, oh, because you might think that you're one place, but spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, you're someplace else. Have you healed from your life trauma? Oh, I grew up in Scottsdale. I grew up in Beverly Hills. I don't have trauma. Yes, you do. It's just not put on display in court very often. So everybody, if you're a human, you have trauma because you can have everything you want. You ask for something, your dad tells you no, you can't have the Bentley truck. That's depressing. That's hurtful. The fact that you have more than the next kid doesn't matter to you. So when I tell my son no to something, he doesn't say, well, the kids down the street don't have anything, so I should be grateful for what I have. No, he wants what he wants. I need people to say, okay, where am I? And that's what we do. We help people come to a space, whether it's spiritual, whether it's psychological, whether it's emotional, of where they are right now. Because once you get centered and accept and understand where you are, then you can better navigate where you're going. But if you say, oh, I'm in great health, have you been to the doctor? No. But what makes you great? I feel good. Feeling good and being good is two different things. I've seen people who were ravaged with cancer, but they looked healthy. Their body didn't fall apart. They got a little bit thinner. So you can't see cancer from the outside. You can't see dementia from the outside. You can't see depression from the outside. So for someone to say, I'm good, let us do an assessment. Let us have the conversation so you can find out, did you really get over that stuff that happened to you when you was in the fifth grade? Did you really get over that high school thing? Did you really get over that college thing? Did you really get over that thing with your mom or dad? Or are you reliving it in your own childhood? So me and my son last night, I got up. He just got a new appointment. He has a phenomenal internship he's been crying for, and he got it. Then I gave him a list of stuff to do. Then I went to bed. I got up at 2:00 in the morning. I went upstairs. He hadn't done any of the writings on the whiteboard to keep the notes. So I woke him up, told him do the notes. I go back downstairs. I come up 20 minutes later, wake him up again. Yo, what's up with these notes? We did this 3 or 4 times for like an hour and a half. We're doing this. And I erased all of his stuff and we did it all what I call right, not what he called right. So make that clear. And at the end, when I was going downstairs, he was kind of huffing and puffing because I wasn't listening to him. I said, son, let me tell you something. That thing that you do that you think nobody knows called procrastination, where you have this big opportunity that you've been waiting for all this time and it's your dream, then you find yourself watching TV or playing a video game or being distracted. You're not the only one with that. I said, you get it from me because I do it too. So I'm coming at you because I wish somebody would have came at me. I didn't have anybody to wake me up at 2 o'clock in the morning and be like, Dre, do this. Or great man in the afternoon, Dre, finish this and hold me accountable. I said, so I'm doing this for you because I know you have the procrastination gene because you got it from me. And he just looked at me. I was like, how did you know? You weren't supposed to know that I procrastinate. And I don't know why I get stuck in these cycles. I'm like, son, I do it every day. But I'm able to mentor you and walk you out of that and through that. So you don't miss the opportunities that I missed. You don't make the decisions that I made. You find yourself without the wins that you should have because you procrastinated. Not you weren't skilled, not the opportunity to present itself. You weren't exercising on your end or executing. So he was just looking at me like, and that's the thing. We still have stuff that we have to fight. I'm a procrastinator, but I have systems to get me through my procrastination. I have self-doubt, but I've built systems to get me through that. Now I can be the system for my son, but I need a system for me. And our listeners and our friends, you need help. It doesn't have to be anything catastrophic, but nobody's perfect. Perfect people are all dead. And the rest of us here are human, and therefore we sin and we error. And let's just say I need help. Or I don't know I need help. Help me figure out what I need help with. We can do that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And oftentimes it's the first step is, as you said, kind of go inward and kind of say, where am I? Right. And do that with a trusted person, ideally. And you kind of say, okay, where am I in these different areas of my life? Right. Like that typical wheel of life, let's just say, where am I right now?
Trusted, and knowledgeable.
Knowledgeable.
So many people go to their friends and say, hey, how does my hair look? Look great to me, girl. I'm saying, hey, how does this dress look? Looks great to me. Go to the person that's going to be deciding if you win the pageant or not and ask them. And they'll tell you the truth. Ask your friends, they're going to make you feel good. Ask the judges. If you can get to a judge before the pageant and say, what do you think of this dress? Nah. But my friends all said it was nice. Well, your friends aren't a judge.
Yeah.
So do your friends do this for a living? No, but they're my friends. I never forget my favorite line from the movie 300 when the guy said, hey, you were supposed to come with soldiers. You only came with 300. I got 10,000. And the guy says, hey, what do you do? I'm a baker. What do you do? I'm a locksmith. What do you do? I'm a whatever he does. He says, hey, Spartans, what do you do? I said, oh, soldier. He said, I guess I did bring more soldiers than you. So don't ask your friends just because you're friends. Ask people who know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You don't call your friends when your toilet gets stopped. You don't call your friends when your car breaks down. You don't call your friends when you need any kind of medical treatment. Yeah. Do not call your friends when you have a psychological thing you're trying to get fixed, an internal thing. That's not what friends are gifted at, most likely.
Yeah. And it's the same thing for mentors, right? So find somebody who's doing successfully, consistently what it is that you wish to do, and ask for their help, right? Model what they're doing and ask for guidance, ask for their accountability, get the support that you need, as you said, from a trusted and knowledgeable source. And we need that. Like we human
100%.
beings need that. That care of other people is really, really important. The belief of other people in us is really important, right? I imagine those mentors that you reached out to back when you were in prison, they must have believed in you and what's possible for you, right? For them to guide you and to be there by your side, through those 8 years, that must have required them to believe in possibilities that you may not have even been able to accept for yourself at that point.
And one of those gentlemen was the best man at my wedding. Oh. Shout out to Pat Dempsey. And I say to people, karma is real. It was probably 6 years ago when I was trying to figure out some stuff. I went to a group and I met some people and they're like, hey, we can do all this stuff for your business. I'm like, all right, cool. They shot me this giant invoice. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, they were pretending to be my friend. It was like all friendly chummy and getting me to understand this stuff, but they were setting me up for an invoice. Hit me with the invoice. I didn't have the money. They're like, oh, no services, and kept moving. Yesterday, that same person reached out to me. It's like, hey, Andre, help me with my business. I said, sure. I went through the whole thing. And I said, how do you want to do this contract? Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you said help you with your business. You didn't say you fell down, you're depressed, your kids lost or on drugs. You said help you with business. That's a money thing. Here's my invoice. And it was like my regular speaking fee, $25,000. She was like, oh, well, I'm like, she had totally forgot that she set me up for the big invoice. Had she said her daughter was stressed out or she had some personal depression, I'd have helped her. And had she helped me 6 years ago when I was nobody, I'd have gladly helped her yesterday. But when I was nobody, she saw me as a dollar sign. And lo and behold, the person she tried to get a couple dollars from could have put her in a position to make millions of dollars. But if you're the type of person who's a taker, then I don't feel bad not giving you the opportunity to take from me. You had a chance to give to me and you didn't. And had you given to me, I'd have gave to you the same exact way. But what you did for me, send me an invoice, is what I did for you. Send you an invoice.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even correlate the two. So I say to the people, you don't have to give your businesses away, give all your stuff away. Be kind to people. If you see someone that's not in position today, that's today. What they say, the people you pass on the way up will be the people you pass on the way down. Well, she rolled past me. I was like, bye.
Yeah.
Again, had it been something critical about life or something like that, is different. She said, this is a business thing. I said, let's make it business then.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was being petty. I'm like, I don't owe you any business advice. You didn't owe me any business advice. I didn't get mad at you. So don't be mad at me. You're going to need help one day from the most randomest person. You don't know that's the person you're walking past.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, that age old, thing, the treat people how you want to be treated. And it's the thing with karma, right? Cause and effect is that when we're behaving from our heart, right? Not from our ego mind or protective heart. When we're really in our true essence, in our heart, and that intuitive little nudge says, help this person, reach out to this individual, whatever that might be. It is important to follow that. We're all connected energetically, and it might be that that person is seeking exactly what you can offer to them. And as you said, you never know, but when you do the good deeds without an attachment, right? As you said, you never know. That's when that altruism tends to come back to you tenfold, right? Manyfold. And there's even research on that, through Lynn McTaggart that, does research on intention and collective intention on what happens when we really give and care for, even if it's just a positive thought of hope, peace, love for somebody. It really makes a difference.
Joe Polish met me when I was going through a transition. And he didn't say, oh, here's the invoice. Here, pay me $35,000 to join Genius Network. He was like, oh, this brother needs help. And he just, 5 minutes into the conversation of first meeting me, he said, brother, I want to help you. He didn't know who I was. He didn't know where I was from. He knows I was trustworthy. He just saw a person he thought was a good person he heard needed help. And for him, knowing was the ask. I didn't have to I never made a formal request. For him, knowing was the ask. If you're that person, when you know something, that is the ask. If it's verbalized or not. And he helped me. And we went from that day. He didn't know I did crisis intervention. He didn't know I was like a substitute, a substance abuse specialist. He didn't know I did prison work. He didn't know any of this stuff. I did event planning, staffing. I've been chief of staff over there for him. I've been, chief box runner, everything. But he had no idea. And he didn't do it because one day I was going to become his chief of staff. He didn't do it because I was going to be his right hand at his annual event. He didn't do it so I can help him set up outreach programs across the world. He didn't do it so I can put his content on tablets in front of hundreds of thousands of people. He did it because it was who he was. There was no, oh, this is a good thing for me. I see the benefit. He said, this is who I am. And he told me, he says, I've given money away before and it's just gone away. And I'm going to keep doing me. I'm not going to let the last person who ran off with money and didn't do what I thought they should do stop me from helping you. And that's been Joe's policy. Each person's an individual, and he invests in each person standing in front of him. You're like, Joe, how do you get burned 30 times? Because it's not a collective. These are individuals. And he's going to keep investing in individuals. And at Genius Network and Joe Polish and Genius Recovery, we invest in individuals. We're not saying, well, the last 30 people messed up, so you're out. And that's not his motto. That's not his stance. And that's not the Genius way. Genius Network is really basic. We want to give you the things that you want, I'm saying, and then make sure you get the things that you need.
Yeah. And, and in doing so, I mean, there are resources that are being given. And I don't just mean monetary resource, things like that. Really when we talk about, goals, right? So as you said earlier, oftentimes when we're at that rock bottom, we're like, okay, we can't do this anymore. We accept where we are and we consider where we want to be, right? Wherever we are along that journey, it's important to assess where we are and what we want. So we have a goal. Let's say we have a desired state, right? So maybe it's not, as you said, to be free. It's the step of, that last step that has to happen so they know that they're feeling the way they want to feel, right? So it might be getting the job, like signing the contract. It might be, having the relationship, whatever it is that somebody wants. So that's the desired state. And then there is the current state, like where am I now? And the formula is present state plus resources equals the desired state. So sometimes the resources comes from a mentor or a coach. Sometimes it comes from reading a book, listening to a podcast, or, from somebody who's a giver like Joe, right? Whatever that might be, we need to get the resources. And the kicker is, as you talked about trauma, is that sometimes when we have like inner resistance to, like, parts of us want to do better, but parts of us don't, or maybe don't believe that we can, or that we're worthy, or that all that stuff, then that can interfere with the resources, right? With receiving the resources. We may self-sabotage, so to speak, right? And not, it's a protective mechanism. Bottom line here is I want to hear from you, because you've had this incredible journey of what were some of those inner voices for you that got in the way initially of you getting the help? And how did you soothe those parts of you to feel safe enough to be able to change your life?
Well, I stopped listening to mass media. And mass media isn't TV or the internet. It could be the persons down the hall from you, the people at the water cooler, the people you go to buy, whatever. The world says what it says. I'm not the world. I'm Andre. And so I stopped listening and saying, the world says, well, since I'm a black male and I can't read and this, I should be a prisoner. And the world says, well, since I was a gang member, I always be a gang member. The world says, I stopped listening to the world. And I started asking myself hard questions. What's inside of me that's stopping my dream from happening? Is drastically different than what policy says I can't be great. Because I don't control policy, but I control what I do. And I started looking at me and the decisions that I was making that were affecting my life, not the decisions the world thought should be, or whoever. This Phantom Committee, saying the Illuminati was saying, Andre, you shouldn't be great, or you shouldn't be in this room or that room. Why am I listening to people I don't know, never met, and don't even know if they're real? Look in the mirror. What's inside of me that's stopping me from getting to Harvard? I answered that question. Then what am I going to do about these hurdles? The hurdles aren't going to go away. Hey, man, I'm black. Hey, I got prison time. Hey, I'm in solitary. Hey, my mom's not here with me. Hey, my dad's not on deck. Hey, I'm surrounded by gang people. These are hurdles that I constructed. Key word. These are hurdles that I constructed. My question went from how to get rid of these hurdles to how to get over these hurdles. When I thought about how to get rid of them, it's way more energy to pick a hurdle up and move it than it is to jump over it. So if you just take the time to jump over the hurdle, it's far less energy than picking it up and carrying it 100 yards off, then coming back, then carrying the next one, then coming back. It's just so much easier to just jump over the hurdle. So what are my hurdles? Then let me jump over them. And that's what I started doing. And I just kept going forward, and I stopped making excuses, asking myself the real hard questions and being direct with my answer. So I say to people, what do you want to do? Why aren't you doing that? And they got this long story. You know what I say? What's your middle name? Jonathan, Harry, Stephen. What do you want to do? It should come out just as easy. So see how easy that was? That's how easy your answer should be. Stop with all this 400 paragraphs about this dream concept. That's not what this is. I want to be successful. What am I doing today, right now? And I've asked myself the hard questions, the direct questions, and I jumped over the hurdles, stopped trying to get rid of them because life is full of hurdles. They'll never all go away. And I started with the political correctness. Well, I'm only supposed to do this, and these phantom lines that we're supposed to be boxed into. I was working with a young lady yesterday, and her father's been to jail, and she works for a company that I work with, and she wanted to talk to me. And she got on the phone to suggest that I go to this other nonprofit and help them build the nonprofit. I said, that's fine. Sounds like a great nonprofit. I said, why did you do this work? And she told me a story about her and her dad. He did 12 years. I said, well, I only got so much free time that I can give. And you can pick one of the two groups. Either I can help the group or I can help your dad. Pick one. Because I can't do like 30 free volunteer endeavors. And she's sitting there and she said, well, help the group. I said, that's nice. Then I went on and said, which means more to you, the group or your dad? And she stuck and she said, my dad. I said, then why did you want me to go to the group? Political correctness. I thought it was the right thing to say. I didn't know how to explain to people that I was being selfish or thinking about my personal needs. But isn't that what you do every day, all day? When you're home, you're stressed out. With the 12 years he was away, you were stressed out. He's been home for 3 years, trying his best, you're stressed out. But here comes help, you're sending it down the street. I said, let me tell you a lesson. Never jump over your own to save somebody else's, to be politically correct. And I walked her through that process of what do you really want? Not what does the world want? Not what's best for the world or the most people. What do you want, young lady? She said, I want my dad to be whole, free, and successful. That is my number one thing. I said, then let the world know it. If they think you're bad because of that, that's their opinion. Stop giving in to the opinion of the world and speak your truth, walk your truth, live your truth. And I said, so I literally have a call with her dad tonight. Tonight I have a call with her dad, and I'm going to help him with his situation to help him level up. I said, now, all the help that's going to your dad might have gone to that nonprofit. And you just saw the nonprofit do crazy better while your dad's still struggling. You were saying yourself, I could have had that help from my dad, but I gave it away because of political correctness. Stop letting people make you feel bad for what you have or don't have, or what you want or don't want. Speak your truth, live in your truth. And my key saying is, do not jump over your own to save somebody else's. If you have a loved one in need, they're primary. I don't care if there's 10 million people down the street that need water. If your child needs water, he should get it first.
Yeah. I believe that too. And it's important because if I'm, giving the help to others and I'm in a state of depletion because there's somebody in my life that's hurting or suffering or needs help, then I'm not really able to help the group, right? Because I'm in a depleted state. I'm not thinking as clearly. I don't have as much energy. I can't make the highest and best decisions. So I need to first and foremost care for my own energy and my loved ones, so to speak, so that I manage my energy again, so that I could give more and come up with more creative solutions that will help others as well.
So I help people look at the real. I know what she wanted, but she didn't know how to say it because she's been conditioned to give the politically correct answer.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not the political correct guy.
Yeah.
So I don't care if you have $1 billion. If your kid is struggling, your kid deserves help. If you live in the projects and your kid is struggling, your kid deserves help.
And that's what are, helping people to see who they really are, what they truly want, what's truly important to them. That's the key here. This whole concept of the mindset game is really a game of forgetting, right? All of the shoulds, all of the political correctness or the conditioning that we received, and coming back home to our true self. And in doing so, we could contribute at a higher level, right? When she's truthful with herself, she's really modeling that, as you are doing that for us today, right? Modeling that to others, right? She's modeling that to her dad. She's modeling that for others, right? And
she got on a call with her dad, knowing that she had the help for him, but she redirected it. and that would have changed the dynamics of their conversation. But instead, she's gonna call her dad like, Dad, I got help for you. So she's just in a whole nother. She's in a better space. He's gonna be in a better space, and I'll double back and help the nonprofit. So I got time for the not, but I wanted her to say, "My dad first,"
Yeah.
because that's her power, that's her truth. My dad first, and that's okay. As long as once your dad is helped, you double back and say, "Hey, how can we get someone over to that nonprofit?" I'm gonna go anyways, but your loved one first. I don't care where you live, how you live, what you're dealing with. So I've been, like I said, from Helena, Montana to Beverly Hills to Scottsdale to Long Island to you name it, to Paradise Island. I've been all over the world, Sweden, helping people. Some were poor, some were rich, but they were all people.
That's right. And that point is really important because sometimes when people think of people in prison, let's just say, right, they have certain judgments about who they are, what they're about, their values, and and so what do you have to say for our listeners who may carry some of those judgments from the inside, if you will? What do they need to know?
If you're living with those judgments because you're judging yourself and judging others already. So you think people are judging you. So I'm rich. I live in Beverly Hills. They think I'm a snob. They think this. So you're already thinking people are judging you, which makes it easy for you to judge me while I'm sitting in prison. So the judgment game, to actually do it, you have to be in it. So if you're judging me, you're only telling me that you feel somebody's judging you. So you're living in this little lens of what you think. Again, the world is thinking about you. Oh, I drive this type of car. I have this type of business. They think I should be doing this, and you're trying to live up to expectations. I don't live up to expectations. I have zero expectations. I measure results, not intentions or expectations. So if you are thinking that the guy in prison or lady in prison is less than, no, they're not less than. They just made decisions, not mistakes. They made clear decisions that had clear ramifications that put them where they are. But that doesn't mean they're not smart. I mean, we know the Wolf of Wall Street went to prison. He's making more money than a lot of people. I think Jesus went to prison. He's more famous than a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? I can go down a list of people. I mean, Nelson Mandela went to prison. He became president of his country. Prison doesn't mean dumb. Prison doesn't mean less than. Prison doesn't mean weak. Prison doesn't mean, distraught. Prison doesn't mean criminal. Prison just means you made some decisions at a time that came with ramifications. So Jesus' ramifications was what they were. Wasn't criminal. It was some kind of religious stuff. Nelson Mandela's was more political, but it was what it was. Jordan, let me say our guy Jordan, his was more criminal, or so they say. And so everybody goes for their own reasons. But it doesn't make you a bad person.
Yeah.
It just means you made bad decisions. I hate when people call them mistakes. Most of these things are intentional. So I didn't accidentally rob anybody, for the record. You know what I'm saying? I intentionally did it. So I don't call them mistakes, but I made a decision. Now, hopefully I've learned to make better decisions. So the judgment thing starts with self. If I'm happy with me, then I can be happy with you. If I'm thinking people are judging me, or they people looking at me like I'm crazy, and I'm gonna look at people like that. I think people looking at me. So you're indicting yourself when you pass judgment on me, that you believe that this is the way people should live. So stop, come see us. We'll sit down. We will help you get on the right plane and recalibrate your life. I mean, you can be phenomenal. You can do so much more if you can get rid of your biggest pain. Yeah. I'm saying, what's Joe say? You're as sick as your biggest secrets.
Yeah.
So let us help you get rid of these big secrets that you think nobody knows about. We don't know the secret, but we see it manifest in your day-to-day life. Yeah. I don't know your secret, but I know it because I can see it manifest in your day-to-day life, because you should be doing so much better. You should be so much happier. You should be so much further along. So I can't see the thing, but I can see the lack that you're not producing. So yeah, you think you're hiding it, but you're not. And when I stop pretending and just say, you know something, help me. And people said, okay, cool. If you give us the opportunity, we would love to help you become the greatest version of yourself, because one day you're going to be like, I got 30 more. I'm going to be sitting in my little hotel room or little nursing room or wherever I'm going to be sitting at. I'm going to look back on my life. I'm going to say, Andre, yeah, I messed up in the beginning a little bit, but did I get it right? And am I happy with if they call me like, Dre, we're taking the hospital tomorrow, I think this is all she got. This is all you got. You got stage 9 cancer. It's over. I can look back on my life and say, you know something? I gave it my all. I created impact and I made a difference. I did what I could do with what I was given. And I believe what I'm leaving behind is a worthy thing. So if you can't look at your life and say, hey, I'm happy with this life that I lived, then let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because I want you to be at the end of your days to go where you're going happy.
Yeah. And I think that that doing this work, right? Looking at the shadows that, let's say, are being projected as judgment toward prisoners or judgment towards our neighbors or the politician or whatever, doing that work is so, so, so important. And in doing that work, we get the resources, right? So remember we said kind of present state plus resources equals our desired state, right? So you made the decisions that you made with the resources that you had at the time. You got new resources, you were able to make different decisions, you were able to imagine different possibilities. So I agree 100% that when we go into and do the work to look at the shadows, to integrate or release what needs to be, what needs to be integrated and all of that inner work stuff, that we can access new resources and live our better lives so that everybody listening, myself included, yourself included, we can look back at our life and say, you know what, we did the best that we could, and we find peace, right? Peace where we are then, right? And in this moment right now, right? That's
And if they need some help, there's a movie called It's a Wonderful Life that comes on every Christmas. If you ain't seen The Wonderful Life, either you're really young or there's something wrong. We all watched The Wonderful Life when they walked him through and he got a chance to see the impact that he could have, should have, would have made. And if you don't want to hear from me, go watch A Wonderful Life. Then give me a call because we can get you there. We can walk you through and show you that it's not too late, that you do have a chance, that you have a beautiful spirit, that you have a wonderful soul, and you were created for the purpose of creating. You were not created for the purpose of taking.
And I'm grateful that you are giving and creating with us today, and for all the work that you do for Genius Recovery and to support and inspire, mentor thousands, I imagine, at this point of people who may be at their bottom and may not be able to quite see what's possible. But you had that knowing, and just like Joe, you believed and you supported and uplifted, and that's what our world needs when we come together
Yes.
like that. So thank you again, Andre. You're a beautiful soul. And how can people learn more about how to access those services from you? Also hire you as a keynote speaker. I know you're an incredible motivational speaker. How can people learn more about you?
They can do one or two things. First, they can reach out to you because these are your folks. If you don't, hey, you got a question, they should call you first or send you email first. I'm super cool with that. Then if you want to come at me direct, you can just go to andrenorman.com and send me an email and we'll answer. I try to keep life simple. There's no super complicated. You can go to Washington Speakers Bureau. You have all these agents and stuff. You just go to andrenorman.com, send me an email and say, hey, Andre, we'd like to bring you in for an event. Hey, Andre, I want to have a conversation about how do I actually get to my best version of myself.
Awesome. Thank you. And last question here as we complete. If you could meet that younger version of you, that boy that struggled, right? What would you want him to know?
I would want him to know that it works out in the end. It's gonna be a tough walk. Say, youngin, it's gonna be a tough walk, but you're gonna make it. You can't see the end, but having been to your 57 version self and come back and see you at 15 is going to be a tough walk. But tough times produce tough men. And you want to be great, there are other paths to greatness other than prison, but the path that you're on, the story ends phenomenal. So stay focused, stay the course, and your path is your path. Some people's paths are through prison. Some people's paths are through college. Some people's paths are through business. Some people's paths are through relationships. Your path is your path. But Andre, you win in the end. You might not see it now, but you win in the end.
That's right.
And that's what I tell. It's so hard to see at 15, 57. But sitting here at 57, I can tell the next person, you can win. If I can go from the basement of a prison, solitary confinement, with 105 years, to working at the White House, working at Harvard, working at Congress, London Business School, and flying around the world doing interventions and helping people do and be better, what can't you do?
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you, Andre. All my love to you. I hope you loved this episode with Andre. He is such an inspiration. We talked about Joe Polish in the conversation. Here is the link to access the conversation with Joe if you want to click on that and watch that. He too is amazing and you'll learn so much. And the other thing is that I want you to remember that the present state plus resources equals desired state, meaning wherever you are, it's important to know where you are and accept where you are. And you got to know where you're going. You got to be really specific, as Andre said, about what it is that you want. And then realizing that you need resources. So reach out to mentors, right? Listen to these podcast conversations, watch these videos, get the help that you need because it is there for you to learn what you need to learn to live your very best life. So I wish you all the best. And I invite you to share this conversation with others that you think it could help. All my love.